Guardian, the Exodus Black is overrun with Vax and House Salvation Elixni. The Elixni look like scouts. They followed the Vax into the crash site.
What did I do to deserve this?
Not to worry, we'll sort it out.
I have 150% confidence in the captain, even though it is a mathematical impossibility.
Good, good. So do I.
I'll be right back. This device looks like an old arc energy conveyor. Guardian, down. Guardian down. Pick up that charge, Guardian. Let's see what we can do with it. Guardian down. Guardian down. Guardian down. Guardian down.
Power's down. Tough to see. Wait. Something's lurking above us.
Guardian down. Did you hear that? Guardian down. Guardian down. We can disable the stealth generator with arc charges, I think.
free?
Most life forms and AIs prefer silence to gunfire. Guardians are the notable exception.
You know us too well.
All right, GMs are back. And I'm sure you're going to find other builds that slap. But I mean, honestly, I'm going to be honest. I feel like you probably would be better off using an actual primary weapon instead of running, double special and a heavy. I felt like ammo generation sometimes was a little sketch. Not completely. I felt like was pretty fine. The build itself is fantastic. Like, this specific build uses the smoke jumper set, which gives me immediately gives me rapidly decaying damage reduction, on top of the fact that picking up ammo also heals me. So double version of healing. I did trade out the recuperation. I don't know if I used to run double, which used to give 70, then they nerfed it. I don't know how much recuperation gives now. So I opted out for kinetic scavenger for the lightsaber, and then for grenades, because we spam those. Innovation, you could also use insulation. There's a lot of things you could use instead. You don't even need to use the Praxis Blade. I specifically, like, all that thing matters is using a good flash counter sword, but Praxis Blade also does the Lord's work. Plus it also applies that stasis slow debuff, which is good against overloads, and it also deals with anti-barriers intrinsically. I don't know if to be honest, I don't know if the slow, it should theoretically still stun the champs, because it's a feature, not like they change it to where essentially if it has one built in, it doesn't proc anything else. I don't know if that applies to the slow or not, but I'm sure people will test this out. But overall, you could swap this for New Memphis and still rock just a generic sword. I personally think Cold Steel is the best flash counter sword in the game. Like, there is nothing better than this. This is the premium sword. It is the best with strongholds. And as you could see, I was just tanking bosses. The only thing I didn't tank was, using the lightsaber to tank up an exploding shank. Being negative 50, you're still going to take some damage. But my spread is focusing, because you don't need damage with grenades, because we're just getting enough for generation. Same thing with super. You could build into super. I opted to build in weapons, because we are using these for damage, especially 2 of them, which are going to be special. Getting that, nice little extra boost. If you can min-max your stats, honestly, you don't need very high melee, though I do like it in a pinch, because shield throw does give you the void overshield, and it can be very helpful if you are struggling. That extra survivability can be helpful. As you could see, I didn't use it a whole lot, but it is helpful to help the Dranger's Lash combo with Diamond Lance. Let me tell you, I know a lot of people are like, why not use Knockout? Trust me, this build, you're going to be healing passively with strongholds. Having Diamond Lances, you saw that I was going back and forth, spamming, creating both Tangles and Diamond Lances, which was fantastic for freezing groups, freezing bosses, freezing champs. It allows for complete crowd control, along with double suspension, shackle grenades, combined with the fact that all you have to do is quickly thrust. And it is probably the safest crowd control in the game. Thrust only take a couple seconds and you get yourself out of the way. Kind of reminiscent of Dark Souls doing a barrel roll, right? You do those iframes to survive a hit. Same thing applies here. I'm rocking Faceted Protection. It's an obvious. Faceted Devotion, because anything stasis or strand gives you that bonus damage. As you could tell, there was times where I was getting a shit ton of supers and I was getting Transcendence. I wasn't using it all the time, but you can essentially just, with this build, spam it, especially with this combo where we're using primary weapons. We're using the arc, but mostly we're doing damage with both of these with strongholds. That's just feeding into our Prismatic Titan. Then we also have Fast of Courage, which is Arc Solar Void. deal damage. And you should be, like I said, with this, you should be applying quite a bit of darkness debuffs, allowing you to do more damage with your secondary slot weapon. In this case, I was using the PSI Ternia, which is pretty good. It has another option to stun champions with the Jolt feature. Everything in this build covers every champion at any time. So it is very helpful to have a nice little spread. And that's what I went for. We have Facet of Purpose. Picking up an orb grants either Bolt Charge, Restoration. In this case, we're getting Frost Armor, which again, adding to that survivability. We are already tanking, but getting shot in the back. Strongholds does not block shots in the back, but Frost Armor allows us to survive AoE attacks a little bit more. And just in general, if we run out of sword for some reason, it's just passive our DR that stacks with our armor as well. We also have Facet Hope. While you have elemental buff, your class ability regeneration quickly, which pairs perfectly with Facet Dawn, which throwing those diamond lances and using our throws proc radiant. So we're getting those radiant procs, which is feeding into our class ability, which then allows us to again dodge and crowd control everything. I use Glacial Quake because one, and it's great for crowd control. Two, it also does a crap ton of direct single target damage. When you punch something, you could use whatever you want, but personally I think Stasis is the best prismatic for this build. You could also go with Blade Fury because theoretically, if you're not doing pure stasis, the DR from Woven Mail is also really nice. But honestly, I think the multi-facet of Glacial Quake, you could either use it for killing, a crowd of enemies or, face tanking a boss, right? It's really nice. This build is fantastic. Just anyone who wants to look at the mods, here they are. I've built in special ammo finder mostly for the, lightsaber. This is a mistake. Ignore this. This is just a whoopsie doops. Actually, this is for pulling out the heavy sword. So this is very useful. This is a whoopsie doopsie. This is great because you're able to throw the distance of your shackle. So you can, if you need to capture a group or help a teammate out, you can throw, suspend some targets. Arc, because there's a lot of arc. Charge up to get more, carrying more, because we are using this to kind of feed into our weapon fonts. You could change this out for whatever you want, but again, we're increasing our weapon damage. I chose damage. You could choose super. Overall, that's what I chose. I also ran special ammo scout to help my teammates. Now that we have this, I feel like with how I'm making a bunch of ammo, I want to help my team out as well. Melee resistance, because when you're up close with a sword, you are reducing your damage. It's a lot better than concussion, in my opinion, because we are usually just face tanking a boss. Again, it's Kinetic Scavenger, increasing the lightsaber ammo. You can change this out for your choice. Reaper, because we are dodging a lot, so we are making orbs. So that's very helpful. Powerful attractions to collect our orbs. And when we're dodging a lot, that'll help out so we can passively get orbs without thinking about it. And then time dilation to increase our weapon font as much as possible. Again, you could trade these out for whatever you want, but I went for min-max. Now, the artifact mods, I did not even unlock everything yet, but I do have Singularity Blade, which is not really proccing unless my teammates are helping. If I get an Overshield, that will help, but very rarely because it's just a single melee that I toss. Combination Argent, Riposte, all these being used. Very nice, very nice. Again, you can build into it, and you could even go pure void. But for this specific showcase, I wanted to showcase it complete control. -50 under. We are able to completely crowd control and stay alive. You don't need the Praxis Blade. In fact, this is not even a maxed out Praxis Blade with even the Catalyst. You could not use it. You could continue to build into it, and you can make these are flex spots by all means. Absolutely. You want to use the Aurora Dawn with strongholds. That's the bread and butter. And the spread specifically, at least these stats right here. You want max grenade energy gains along with class. These are the two bread and butter for crowd control. You can choose damage. You can go super. You do make a crap ton of super, so it would make sense. But you are also doing damage with a lot of features such as the Praxis Blade, your swords, And being under as much as possible, getting that extra chip damage does make a difference. And so I've opted to build into weapons to boost as much as possible. With one font, this is looking at a 145, which I don't know how much percentage, but also it builds into our large MO brick chance, which can be helpful in the long run. Again, you could do super, but I think the gains from the super is minimal compared to the double edge of more damage to your weapons when under level, and you're getting a higher chance of getting more MO, which is kind of something that I would need in this specific case. But yeah, that is our first ever GM post Edge of Fate. I just focused on it. I didn't know how it was going to go. This was my first time running. Sorry about the webcams. I just literally clicked record and I figured I'd see what had happened. I would do a face cam next time. Apologies. I know it might be really annoying for people, but overall, I would say it was really fun. I think GMs are great so far. I didn't get really a good roll, unfortunately. Yeah, unfortunately, just unless you really like Rolling Storm, Trickling Charge, and I don't. But for PvP, maybe heating up Rampage, maybe. Nothing overly exciting for me. Let's see, what do we get on this one? We've got Jolt, Supercharged Mag, and Trickling. And that's cool. So I'm okay with this, honestly. Trickling and jolting feedback actually really go pretty well. And again, we've got the PvP. And then this is also pretty cool too. So I got a good roll. I don't know how I feel about 540s. I don't know if it would do anything. Maybe we'll take this into GM or something and test it out. But yeah, GM's fun. GM's fun. I don't think it's guaranteed to drop. I kind of wish it does. I think the weapon is guaranteed. I don't think a special origin trait is guaranteed to drop. You get one for a week, which is kind of cool. Yeah, it's fun. Anyways, I'm Mr. Gaming Counselor. Hit the like button, comment down, and subscribe to the channel for more. As always.